Okay, guys, so today I want to go over 5 reasons that your Amazon private label product failed. Now, I'm not going to touch on, simple ones like, your listing isn't optimized. You don't fill your keyword with, you don't fill your keyword. You don't stuff your listing with keywords correctly. You're not doing the back end search results because those are things that you can find all over YouTube on tutorials and, literally just in-depth studies on what to actually do and how to stuff your keywords in your listings. Optimize your title, make sure your pictures convert well. Make sure you're filling out every picture slot if you need to use them, and you have good pictures. Get good pictures. These are all things that we know. Make sure that you're using all your bullet points. Make sure that you're optimizing your search terms so that people can find you in search results. We all should know these, if you're into private labeling. Now, I want to touch on 5 things that you might have overlooked, and that 5 things that are really completely the reason that your product is suffering or that your product has failed. And these are not things that you're typically going to hear, but I want to go over them because I think they're really, really, valuable and insightful for somebody that is just getting into private labeling here. And this is really, a good refresher for me to teach you this as well because I'm just launching another private label product right now. It's in the works. It's kind of in FBA right now as we speak. So I want to touch on a couple of these things. The first one is that you did not differentiate your listing. So I'm going to go over an example here of the scratch off maps. We've all seen these, they're everywhere. And in one of my vlogs on my other channel, I touched on why this is exactly, I actually have one of these in my room because I think they're really cool. But that doesn't mean that it's a good profitable product for you to sell on Amazon. And the reason for that is there's so much competition. And even if there was so much competition and you potentially wanted to get into one of these, you would have to differentiate in some form or fashion. Everybody's selling, world scratch off maps. Everybody's selling, continent scratch off maps or US scratch off maps. And they're all the same product. And so you'll see here that yes, some people can get ranked on page 1 with 39 reviews or 46 reviews. Well, these are sponsored ads, but can get ranked on page 1 as the number 1 slot with 22 reviews, 9 reviews, 29 reviews. So that's encouraging, but it's important to understand that they're probably doing giveaways of some sort. They're probably, just giving their product away, whether that's a PayPal refund for, a specific review, or that's, a giveaway service like a Jump Send or a Viral Launch or something like that. The point is, yes, you can get to page 1, but as soon as you're not keeping up that sales velocity, as soon as, you stop, giving the products away, your listing better convert, or you're going to slide right off page 1 and back down, page 3, page 4, because you're not going to keep up with that sales velocity. And if you don't differentiate, there's just going to be another person with another scratch off map that's going to come 2 weeks behind you that's going to give their product away and steal your slot. And it's literally that simple. So it's important, especially when you have a competitive product like this, to differentiate in some way, some form or fashion. So maybe you bundle, this is just a random example, the first one that popped in my mind, and I'm sure somebody's done it too. Maybe you bundle, you're selling on the US marketplace, maybe you bundle, a United States scratch off map with a world scratch off map. And then they get the best of both worlds. They can travel the US and scratch it off, and they can travel the world and scratch it off. Maybe you give them a disposable camera that was really cheap. It's, it could be anything, with their world scratch off map. The point is differentiate. You don't want to be every single other product that just looks slightly different. Otherwise, there's no incentive to buy yours. There's no, nobody's going to be, specifically converting on your product. It just happens to be because you're on page 1, which won't last for long. I promise you that. So differentiate. That's number 1 and probably the most important thing. And I plan on doing another video, 5 things successful private labelers won't tell you. That's one of them too, and it's very, very important. Differentiate your product. So number 2 is that you didn't fully understand the numbers, and I'm guilty of this too. I've talked about one product that's failed of mine, and that was definitely because I didn't understand the numbers when I first got started. And the second product, which is one I'm going to talk about, which is one that I've referred to before, is the whiskey glass. And I don't know who this is. This is some random person. Just noticed this because I haven't looked at this listing in a while. But some random person has my glass, and they're selling one of them for $21, $3.99 shipping. They're never going to sell that because I sold this glass and I know the price point of it. But regardless, I just think that's funny. I want to bring it to light. When I used to sell this, you could really get away with it for selling, if you wanted high sales, you sold it roughly around $10.99 to $12.99. If you wanted to, the rest of the market was selling, you'd sell it at like $13, $14, and if you really wanted to go high with it, it'd be like $16 to $17 to $18, but then you would really see like 1 or 2 sales a day. and that was with everything else. And the point that I'm trying to make is I didn't understand the numbers when I did this. So one of the things that I try to do is differentiate my manufacturer, which is something I talk about a lot. And I try to get a US manufacturer for this specific glass. And another way that I try to differentiate was I try to sell a breakable item, which if you're a private labeler, you know is a big no-no, because it's breakable, you can have a lot of returns and stuff like that, but there's a barrier to entry. And to keep it short, basically what I was trying to do is, because it was breakable, I figured no other private labeler would probably try to get into this. But because it was breakable, yes, I had the benefit of not much competition in that specific aspect, but at the same time, I definitely had to deal with all the packaging and making sure that it didn't break, and that was a hassle I did not bargain for, and also something I didn't factor in specifically with the numbers. So actually, I was selling this product, and I actually had the black Amazon's Choice badge for a while, but it just wasn't fiscally worth it for me. I didn't understand the numbers specifically with this glass because I had to pay for the glass, I had to pay for the printing on the glass, then I had to get the glass shipped to me first, which is key and something you don't want to do. You want to get shipped right to Amazon most of the time. I had to get it shipped to me so I could package it up. I had to buy boxes, I had to buy bubble wrap and stuff like that, and then I had to slap my logo on it, stuff like that. And so I didn't necessarily, it wasn't the money necessarily that was annoying me, but it was the time that I had to invest to make all these glasses and box them up, and I just didn't want to spend that. So know your numbers. That goes, without saying. Make sure that you're on top of your how much Amazon's going to take as a fee, how much, what your manufacturing costs are, what if you're importing it from China or Russia or India, what your importing costs are going to be, your customs fees. There's a bunch of things that you want to know, but make sure you run the numbers. Don't just know them, run them a couple times. So number 3 is that you solely relied on, and this glass is one of them I'm going to talk about in a second, because I used to you guys have seen the Instagram I'm about to touch on in a second, but number 3 is that you relied solely on Amazon traffic and Amazon PPC. Now, don't get me wrong, you should be doing Amazon PPC. You should. You should be profitable with your keywords, and you should definitely have an optimized listing, and you should definitely be trying to rank in search results on Amazon. That's going to bring you a lot of organic traffic. But don't just rely on Amazon search results and Amazon PPC. That's not to say blitz the Facebook ads or blitz the Google AdWords or something like that, but you do want to be cognizant of other potential ways to get people to your listing. So, maybe you want to join Facebook groups that are surrounded that targeted niche. And I actually did that with this whiskey glass to show you. If we go to my groups, what I would do is I wouldn't go to the groups, number 1, and just drop my link in there and hope that people buy it, because that's never going to convert well and it's just going to annoy people. But if you kind of look here, here's a Bourbon Lovers to give you an example, and I have about 5 to 10 of these. What I would do is I would join these groups and I would engage with these people and act like a bourbon lover, and it's not something that I have to really act like, because I do like whiskey and I drink it quite often, but I'd ingratiate myself in these groups and then slowly suggest, hey, I found this product that's really cool, to the group, and maybe some people would go and convert. It's literally that simple. You can do the same thing on Reddit. I don't suggest that you just go there and spam your link, because that's not going to work. Ingratiate yourself into the group, and maybe a week or 2 from then you can tastefully drop your link, and these people are going to be none the wiser because you've engaged with them that this is actually your product. But what I would do is I'd basically target follow, whiskey pages and the people that engage with their content, and then people would come back here and they potentially click my Amazon link to my whiskey glass here, and it would generate traffic like that. And it was really, really great, because it'd bring me about 5 to 10 people to my Amazon listing a day that wouldn't have otherwise been there. Now, some of those people converted and some of those people didn't, but they were already highly targeted and specifically liked whiskey, and that was something really, really cool. So the way that, basically what I'm trying to tell you is, you be creative, use other examples. Instagram, in my opinion, is definitely one of them. Whether or not you want to target follow or you just want to build a brand, and that's something that you can do as well. Just build a brand. Maybe, I stuck with my whiskey glasses and then I started creating whiskey stones, and then I could post both of them and, link to my store. There's a bunch of different ways to do it, but don't just be solely reliant on search traffic from Amazon and Amazon PPC. Number 4 is that your PPC, and it's something I just talked about, is bleeding you dry. Now, this is pretty simplistic and it's just like the search terms, But when you're on your Amazon listing, if I were to go back to the scratch off maps, and PPC, if people don't know, and I'm assuming if you're watching this far into the video, you know what PPC is. It's pay-per-click ads, specifically here on Amazon, which are these sponsored ads that you see when you type in a keyword potentially that are on Amazon. So these people bid on this potential keyword of scratch off map, and that's why they're here on top of the PPC for scratch off maps. So when you're initially starting your listing, yes, you need to just throw money at auto to figure out where Amazon's indexing you, number one, and what they feel like you could, getting your data, so to speak, so that you know what works and what doesn't. But then it's important to really hone down that manual campaign and really kind of get profitable. So most people will do that. They'll do the auto campaign, and then they'll figure out some keywords that work, and they'll throw them into a manual campaign, and then they'll just go after it. And what they don't realize is it's a continuous process. You're not just going to find that specific manual campaign overall with 5 to 10 keywords or 20 keywords that are going to work for you long term. They can switch because other people can start bidding on them as well, and they can bid more than you. So it's important to check it not daily. That's crazy, but check it every other day. Check it, just look at it. Check it weekly and kind of reintegrate. Print out your keyword report, see what's working, look at your average cost of sale for that potential keyword. Fix what's working or stick with what's working, fix what's broken. And you're going to have to constantly change that manual campaign and go over it more and more so that your PPC is not bleeding you dry. Another thing to keep in mind is if you have a negative keyword, put it in negative keywords, even if you're bidding on scratch off map. But like I said, going back to number 2, you be cognizant of the numbers. So if you're bidding $4 on this keyword scratch off map, but you only have a potential, and you think that you have a potential product or profit of $7, but you don't realize that Amazon's taking 3 of them, well, then you just broke even, or you're even losing money. So it's important to understand that. Don't let your PPC bleed you dry. Constantly, not just once, not just throw it in auto and then throw it in manual when you have some keywords that work. Constantly improve it, constantly be honing it so that you can be profitable and more profitable as the time goes. You should be getting better at it, the longer you have your listing, and introducing more keywords and so on and so forth. And then finally is you don't have a way to get reviews. So this is something that I wanted to touch on because it's very, very important. Obviously, reviews aren't the only thing, but they're a high conversion factor on Amazon. The more reviews, typically, the higher, the more reviews and the higher the rating, obviously, the more people are going to trust that product, see that other people have liked it. It's that social proof aspect. And realistically, if you have a lot of reviews, it's going to help your product convert, which Amazon loves. So I hope you guys like this video. I really wanted to touch on 5 things that you might not be, really cognizant of, which is why your private label product is failing. And it's important to make sure that you really hone these down so that you can improve, because some people give up on a product too early, and if they would just figure out how to fix these 5 things and address them, that product could potentially be successful.